Okay, let us continue. So I'm going to add the edit option also. Uh, so when we add the context menu option, when context menu pops up, we have a edit uh, option here. So once we click edit, it launches a new activity. There I'm going to call the same fragment which has been created for compose SMS, and I'm going to use it for editing purpose as well. Slightly I may need to modify the code, but not to an extent will completely change the logic. We have done similar strategies in previous shopping list app, where we use the same form for updating and inserting a new item. Similar thing, but in this case it is going to be a fragment. You have to understand such a fragment, the same fragment has been loaded already in pager in main activity, whereas the long pressing a list item takes me to another activity. It's an entirely different activity. So not to be confused with the pager and this thing, because that is something to do with the view pager. Okay. So the activity which I just created here is called edit SMS, which has a set content view from activity SMS edit, which is nothing but a placeholder frame layout, because inside we are going to load our fragment. And of course action bar settings set to back, and we are also displaying up button. For example, it will clear the stack, and we have on option item selected implemented so that an option menu instance can be detected. It is a home button, and when the user tries to hit the home button, it will finish the existing activity, taken back to the main activity. So those things we already know. Now time to attach the fragment. Frame layout. Some name placeholder, because SMS edit placeholder, the name I had given. Fragment manager instance I needed in order to attach a fragment in a placeholder layout such as frame layout. So get support, of course I won't get it, then it has to be fragment activity. Get support fragment manager. I also need an object called fragment transaction to be initialized. I'll let you know what is that. Fragment transaction can be called from fragment manager instance and begin transaction. Why we call it as a transaction? Because the transaction is going to change or attach some fragment on the placeholder. It's going to do some sort of a transaction. Fragment transaction add. Of course, I don't need an instance of a frame layout placeholder, but anyway, there is a option here itself. An option is there. RID SMS edit placeholder. This is the placeholder as nothing but an ID of your frame layout. I don't need an instance because I can directly refer through the ID and attach your compose message fragment. You mean your compose message fragment will be added on the it will be adding on the top of the frame layout. Mean frame layout, a particular uh, fragment would be added. So for that, the fragment transaction object is helpful. So wherever it finds r.id SMS edit placeholder, it will attach this particular uh, fragment. And finally, when you're done, commit it. These few lines will make sure your compose message fragment is added on the respective placeholder. Placeholder means where it's a place to get something to be held. So the frame layout is going to hold this compose message fragment. We have to verify. If you notice, the fragment has got loaded here. Fragment only has got loaded. Of course, we have to write logic here. So the fragment has been loaded on a different activity, whereas the same fragment is also being loaded here in a view pager of a main activity. This is different and that is different, but both are fragments. Of course, see, both are, see, this is the same fragment. So when a long press, when you call edit, a new activity is launched. Moment the new activity is launched, a fragment is loaded inside the frame layout. For that, I need an instance of a fragment transaction. A fragment transaction instance can be called from a fragment manager class. Of course, the manager class contains the helper methods. It's being called using begin transaction, and of course, using the fragment transaction, you can not only add a new fragment, you can also replace the existing fragment also. We will see the example, of course, in the next exercise. This exercise actually doesn't require that. But anyway, of course, the fragment transaction, it does some sort of transaction on the placeholder. So this way also I can load a fragment. Previously, I had loaded the fragment in a view pager using a a kind of view pager adapter. In this case, it's been loaded on the activity. But I want to preload the message here. For example, when a user long press and you hit edit, the message should be populated, not just a blank. So how I am going to do that? Of course, the parcelable objects such as bundle is going to be helpful. It's being launched from SMS list fragment. So from here it is being launched. Sorry, put extra. Sorry. Using the info, so SMS messages get info position, get object, the title will be added with a key. The info.position is actually from the adapter context menu info, the index of the particular list view. So the first list view will have a position 0, the second one subsequent value would be there. Of course, I need to pass the position also to the second activity. So I'm going to need additional uh, constant values or key. Same strategy. We of course going to need one more key. This is we often use it. It is for edit or delete. You need to know. I haven't used that, but anyway, I need it. Okay. Looks fine. So this value will be bundled here and will come to the second fragment called edit SMS, and our practice to check the bundle the moment the view is getting attached. Get intent, get extras. If bundle not. Of course, the incoming bundles are coming. Now I can attach those values to a fragment entries. I always recommend using setter getter method instead of doing some directly having a public variable to be called, which will maintain the modularity. So in order to set title and message, that is compose message fragment, I am planning to have few more getter setter. Modifying slightly in order to suit our requirement because it's an edit text. Keep it at the end. So new compose message fragment. This is one way of doing it, but there are multiple ways. finally attach it to the transaction. I had to attach the item ID, but anyway, let me see. Not sure whether it is loaded. Then it is force closing. Maybe the placement. After attaching, I should start the work. Maybe. Let me try that. It's not working. Is it any null reference? Message. Verify. Okay, now I got it. The reason is this should be called only after uh, onCreateView is implemented. Otherwise, there is no point of calling this particular block. So I'm going to need some sort of, because it is an edit text which I'm trying to point the values directly. In this case, setting get title, set title, the title, the edit text wouldn't have initialized when I tried to point the value here. So I need to slightly do a roundabout way. Instead of doing this one, I need to make sure onCreateView is called first and then it is invoked. So in this case, the easiest way may be to have the view rendered and then attach it. First I'll try the simplistic workaround. I'm going to make it as a public. You can directly refer it. Not sure this part will work. If it doesn't work, you can pass the bundle. See, never. Begin transaction. Okay. I'll go back to the previous one. Okay, pass a bundle here. The right approach would be use one more passable bundle. Say string. I'm creating one more passable object. So to send the data inside the fragment, I'm also going to need item ID also to be sent so that it will differentiate. Okay. This will make sure your object is sent to the fragment before the view is getting attached. Your object will be ready inside the fragment. This parcelable objects being attached to your specific fragment is going to be in this way. Set arguments. Now your objects would be sent to the fragment before the view is created itself. So let me see. The fragment. It will be available here. See, I'm calling in on create because before the view is created. Getting the arguments, capturing the values. If bundle, I'll make it as a global here. Not null. Title, set text. Item ID, I'm going to keep if an item ID. So first we will check whether the values are populated. I think I'm going to get rid of this getter setters because I was trying to access an edit text which is getting created only after on create, but whereas the getter setter or everything is called well before to that. So for that I need to make sure my values are injected first, then let the view is created and set the values when the view or particular widget title and message is created, then I set the values. Now I have my title and the message is populated. I need to rename this to edit in order to save it, and of course when I go back, let the list view also update. So few things I need to do. Uh, the best approach would be having a on activity result which checks the status of the previous activity state. So now it looks fine, and now if set to edit, if extras coming mean it is only for editing purpose. I slightly need to modify this part also, the handle callback. First thing, the edit SMS also should have a on compose done. I need to add one more argument because item ID I need to pass it. I'm going to modify it. The moment I change it, it gives an error, of course expected error. The compose one, job is to pass the particular values to a respective host activity where it is attached. It is not going to have any other logics. It will simply transfer the data to host activity. So wherever, whichever activity it is attached, there it will send back the data. Whereas in main activity it is got attached, it will call this particular block. And right now in edit SMS, the same handle callback has been called, and it will pass the value here. So here I need to set the value. Handle callbacks, item ID. Where is it? Yeah, here the result has to reach. I'm going to use on activity result, which you know already. If an activity is launched, it is sending back some result back to the previous activity where it is started. So for that I need to do few changes. Here instead of start activity I need to make a start activity for result. I need a result code and the request code. I'll define all the constants here only. So any number will do. result and request codes. The request code so it is launched. If request code equal to and if result code equal to, which we are going to add it now, so it will land here when I'm done with that. So edit SMS. When compose is done, it will call an intent I need to attach the updated values, so put extra, same thing, title, let this finish here itself, and when compose is done, it will parcel them back to the parent activity where it is called. In this case, the parent activity SMS list fragment, because the parent activity is main activity, but on activity result can also be implemented inside the fragment. The specific request and result code lands, and time to capture them. And attach the private member. Oh, it is a SMS result. Setter getter already is there. You can use a hash map. Instead of adding it, I'm going to change it. Set given a index bundle item ID, and finally the object. When it is updated, notify the adapter dataset changed. Edit. So this fragment receive the bundles arguments through arguments. The arguments are injected inside the compose message fragment. If values already existing, it will attach and have the send the result back to the host activity. The host activity in this case, edit SMS, bundles an intent and create a bundle object, attach with an intent, set the result, and send the result to the parent activity, main activity. Inside the main activity, the fragment capture them and update the list view. If I call it, I think this adapter problem, I hope it is not capturing or what. Let me see. Implements handle callbacks, and this should call this guy. I want to verify whether it is getting request code, result code properly. I want to verify this. Sometimes this adapter notify data change won't work, so back to verify. Otherwise, I'll put a toast. Yeah, batch rec. Okay, it is calling. What is going
Do we need to make some announcement regarding some rules?
Yeah.
Hi all. You people are aware about the Wings Cultural Fest, right? Okay, so we need MCs for that fest. Okay, we need anchors. Is anyone interested from here?
MCs are the people who will be hosting the events, anchoring the event, hosting the events. Anyone interested, you can give your names to your VRs and he will be available. Okay, by tomorrow morning, because the auditions will be tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So make sure that you should give them. Okay, so he's writing the ID.
Last tips, please make sure you connect the names and send us a mail by tomorrow morning.
Second ID.
253 169. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Only I have a problem here on sending the index. I'll complete, then you can discuss. I'm already trying to fix a bug. Of course, I'm almost done. Only the index is not passing right. I need to verify the position is called correct. I put one more toast to see what kind of position. It is updating some wrong entries, but still works. positions only, so it is correct. This part works. My item ID is being taken and comes here. Oh, sorry, here it is. Looks fine now. Inactivity, compose message fragment, all looks fine. Okay, don't need this toast now. Okay, now it modifies. Let me add something. Edit the scene. Okay, all works now. So now the activity which is calling the same fragment, but this fragment is not inside a view pager. It is called inside a placeholder layout such as frame layout, and using the fragment transaction I'm attaching the particular fragment on the top of the placeholder layout such as frame layout in this case, and sending the data through. There are various ways, as I said. Even I could have used the setter getter, but if I haven't used the edit text, I could have used only string in order to use the set get methods and call the values after what you call edit text is initialized. So the value setting should happen here only, not through the getter setter, which you directly set the value to an edit text. That's the reason it failed, because the edit text was not ready. It was initialized only after on create view is called. So I use another way. I use a bundle object, parcelable object, and I send them through an arguments. A fragment instance can accept argument as set arguments, mean it is same like setter getter, but it is going to be for bunch of data. So I create a parcelable object like a bundle and set the argument and capture the argument on create, and then attach or create the view, and if a bundle is not null, the incoming bundle value will be opened and will be attached to the respective widgets, and the save button would be set to edit. So the same fragment does both the job, and nowhere this particular fragment knows in which activity it has got attached, because most of the informations are quite generic at this point. This fragment can be loaded into any activity, and that's the reason I wrote this example. Whereas the fragment is already loaded in an activity called main activity in one of a view pager, but whereas the same fragment again, or I mean with a different instance, was added from a different activity. So this will call a different activity. In that activity the same fragment got loaded and works as a edit page. So there are plenty of ways. Right now we have seen the fragment and that has been called using fragment transaction on the top of an activity, and of course we have added the fragment on view pager as well using the specific view pager adapter called in this case view pager adapter fragment state pager adapter. So using that also I can call a fragment. So the fragment concept helps you to have your code much modular, even though slight roundabout ways have been used, but it completely give you is a code logic, and of course your code is much more abstracted so that it can be used anyway or any kind of a view wherever a combination is possible. Since I have a fragments separated in this way, one or more fragment I can call, make a combination, create my view depending on the space available on my screen. So for a larger screen I can display more than one fragment, maybe 2, 3, 4. For a smaller screen I can load only one fragment and handle the other one through the normal activity, start activity, like that. For other thing I can load the fragment side by side itself. So we are into a fragmenting or UI. So this particular example does the what you call insert, update and view option, and of course the final one, maybe delete, I can complete it. So that's one smaller example. The delete I can directly do it here. Removing the index, I can delete it. If you want another warning dialog, do you really want to delete? If you want, you can add it. Otherwise, we can leave it to this point. So this will make sure the item is deleted. This will take care of deleting it. Same can be edited. So we have used the fragment to do the create, update, retry and delete options. I will put the source codes to developer site. Tomorrow you make sure you dedicate your entire time on this fragment and have the view created based on that. Make sure you follow the best practices. Of course it is a Java specific one, mean the UI is converted as a Java object, so you can use it however way you want. Instead of using setter getter method, you can find some other way, keeping the access specifier public. You can directly call the variable. Of course you can do it. There are various ways you can attach it, but this is the one a better and right approach, because I can use the fragment as a completely defined an abstracted layer, so that I can use anywhere or any kind of view or any kind of activity for one or multiple along with one. As a single fragment or along with additional fragment or a view combination. Anything is possible if you follow this strategy. Nothing but one single interface which made your code completely modular. Okay. Tomorrow you guys can start these exercises. Anyway, I'll start uploading the process.